Sure. You recently let your band go.
Yeah, that was hard.
Talk a little bit about that.
Well, I had performed with Gene's backup band in Australia, and then Gene, for some reason, canceled his trip to Japan. So I went to Japan with this band, and we did 8 shows, and they're super tight. They all sing lead. So
I know all those guys, by the way.
Yeah, like 4-part harmony. I mean, I'll never forget playing 2,000 Man the first time with this band, and all of a sudden, I'm hearing all the harmonies that were on the original record done by Paul and Gene. I'm saying, great. So after the end of the last show in Tokyo, I said to these guys, are you available? Would you consider doing the cruise? And they said, yeah. I mean, they're all fans of mine.
They're huge Kiss fans, yeah.
Yeah. So, and they're cheaper than my band. And I'm trying to cut costs down. And, I cut one crew member.
Hey, I give you credit for being honest with what you just said. A lot of people wouldn't be that honest, but we talk about this all the time. There's an economic aspect to this.
It wasn't just about funds. I would have paid them what I'm paying my band right now because they're that good.
And how did it go?
Don't let them know that. but now they're going to hate this.
Well, but as far as the old guys, Chris Wise he got a gig. He's playing in Hollywood Vampires.
Chris took it really well. He's been playing with the Vampires. He told me he was doing solo shows with Joe Perry.
Yeah.
And, he's one of the most sought-after bass players in Los Angeles. So Chris took it really well. Scotty didn't take it very well.
I know. I've been getting some texts from him.
Okay.
We'll leave it at that.
And Richie didn't take it well because his wife had just passed away.
Which I'm so sorry to hear that. I did not realize she was even sick. I mentioned it last week. Joanne, his wife, we was like...
It was a nightmare because I kept procrastinating because I said, how can I call Richie and let him know I'm using another band when his wife's on her deathbed? And it was tearing me apart. Finally, I just said, I got to man up. So I called him and I told him briefly why, and he hung up on me. He goes, I can't believe this shit. And he hung up on me. So 2 days later, I called him back in the evening, and, I said, Rich, he apologized for hanging up on me. I've known Richie forever. Yeah, you know that.
Yeah.
So, we healed. He told me he loved me like a brother. I told him the same. I said, tell me what I can do for you, because I know you were expecting the money from the cruise, So I wired some money into his account to help pay for the wedding.
You mean the funeral?
Why do I keep saying that?
Well,
I keep screwing that up. Yeah, for Joanne's funeral. She was a wonderful lady.
Yeah, and they were inseparable for people that didn't. I mean, they were always together.
Bad timing is bad timing, but, business decisions really can't, with personal life, it never gels. It's never the right time in a lot of cases. But I'm actually going up to the funeral today, and I'm going to say a couple of nice words about Joanne.
Oh, nice. Okay. Well, please send my condolences as well.
Absolutely.
I tried to reach Richie, but this is how inseparable he was with his wife. His wife had the phone all the time.
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure if he now has the phone, because
he has her phone now.
Yeah. I mean, it's really, really sad. Last thing from me, then a break, and then a few calls from the audience. You look great. We were talking about it off the air. You're thin as a rail. You are doing all this stuff.
Ronnie Mancuso.
Well, we talked about our mutual friend Ron Mancuso has this diet that you're doing, which is like, basically no carb diet. Ronnie's family and himself own a tremendous Italian restaurant in Vegas,
one of the best.
Bistro, that I go to constantly and hang out with them. How you can stay away from bread and carbs and be in that restaurant every day, I don't know, because as soon as you sit down, they put these garlic knots on the table. It's unbelievable. But anyway, you look great. You're doing all this stuff with now Gene's involved. You've done some stuff with Paul. You're playing the Kiss cruise. Sal from the Howard Stern show, who was in the lobby a second ago and we were talking, he comes up to me, he goes, "You see how great Ace looks over there? How thin he is? You know why that is, right? Because he's got to get back in the costume. He's going out with Kiss." Everybody's got these theories, right? You can't help but not to have the theories when you see all this interaction and all this, good feeling moment.
The best news I got in the last week, and it really made my day. In the last 6 months to a year, every time Paul was asked the question, is Ace going to be involved in future tours, he always shot it down.
Yes.
This past week, he was asked that question, and he said, "I wouldn't rule it out."
Yes, it's definitely changed. And let me tell people, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I get calls to this show every day, people asking me about you potentially doing something on Now This Farewell and all that. And I say to the people all the time, I said, every time I talk to Ace, he's asking me. He doesn't know. He's waiting. He doesn't know anything at this point. Has anything changed? Do you still not know anything?
I haven't been asked. Since they announced that tour, I haven't gotten a phone call.
Well, let me give you my theory, which I think is interesting.
Okay.
I have never in my life seen a band announce a farewell tour like they just did, do press. Paul's out doing interviews for a farewell tour with not one date being announced. You announce a tour, there's usually a schedule of dates, tickets go on sale next week. There's not a show announced anywhere in the world. My theory for that, and that could be off, but this is my take as an outsider, they want to test the waters and see what sort of reaction they get to this before they decide if they have to go to you and Peter and anyone else to throw some gas on the fire. They're trying to test the waters first before they make a commitment, which is why they're being a little bit cagey about anyone coming back, because they don't know. I've never seen a band do press for a tour that doesn't exist
You
yet.
want to hear something weird? Rachel was on Paul's site, and there was a photo of him saying, "We're rehearsing." And on the left corner of the picture was me. You could see my rings with my Les Paul with my face in the headstock. And you could see just the cutaway red horn of my Les Paul. And he posted it, and the comments went through the roof. "That's Ace. They're rehearsing together," right? The next day, he put the picture back on without me in it.
Yeah.
But they're testing the waters.
I think that's exactly what it is.
But when I was in Los Angeles and I did a Q&A at the Musical Institute on Hollywood Boulevard, 500 people in the audience, the nurse from my doctor said she saw it. She goes, "Ace, I didn't know you were a comedian." But to make a long story short, during that, they proposed the same question to me, and I said, in reality, it's not about what Paul and Gene says. It's not about what I say. When Doc McGee gets the phone calls from the promoters and say, "We'll pay double to have Ace and Peter involved in the next tour,"
Totally.
that's what.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what all this press is about. How much can we sell without them? Okay, now they're going to circle the wagons. Well, now we need to at least put their name on it because it ain't what we thought it's going to be. Right. So, that's my take, but we'll see. Everybody asked me if I'm going to go. I said, I ain't going unless Ace is there or Peter's there. So,
a lot of fans are saying
that. What's different? We've seen this already, and we'll find out. All right, listen, let's get a break in. I'm late for this break. We'll come back. We've got a few more minutes with Ace Frehley. We've got a bunch of phone calls. Again, the album is out on Friday everywhere. Get it. It's called Spaceman. There's 3 different versions of the vinyl. There's CD. There's probably 8-track coming at some point. Why not, right?
My new pool table.
I'm going to look at Ace's new pool table while we go to break, and we'll come back and we'll talk.
We'll
talk more after this on Trunk Nation.